Okay, I said I'd do a tour of my plot so that my friends on YouTube can picture my little growing space where I spend a lot of my time. So this is the view looking up at my plot. So my plot is from, this is the path, that's the water trough with the tap for the hose, and that's at the bottom of my plot, and the top of my plot is up at the top with that apple tree and the shed. And it's still spring, so everything's just getting growing, and I want to talk really low because I don't want people to hear me. So yeah, so that's my rosemary bush. It's huge. I need to chop it back because it's getting all woody. This is the base of a greenhouse that used to be, well, must have belonged to a previous plot holder, and it needs clearing out. I've put that to my last job before I get my plot all sorted out the way I want it. This is on the long finger, so that obviously the rosemary bush needs to get hacked back a bit to be able to build a top frame for this and put some glass in or perspex. But I do use these growing beds. I had tomatoes in them last year, so they were in my tomato section. So I think I'll put cucumbers here this year and build a frame with bamboo. You can see I've got bamboo there and a trellis, so that'll go up, and that's where I'm going to grow this. So that needs clearing out. It's my last job of the spring season to do. Okay, the bottom of my plot in the shade. This is my raspberry section. I've got about, I think I've got about 35, 40 raspberry canes in there. They just keep spreading and multiplying, so it's very productive patch. I had loads of raspberries last year. Lots of raspberry jam, lots of raspberry vodka, and I've put down some wood chip to keep the weeds down just this year, just a couple of days ago, so hopefully that'll work. So yeah, the raspberries are just starting to form flowers. I don't know if you can see that, but the bees absolutely love those flowers, so this section will be humming with bees once they open. Okay, that's my fig tree. It's huge. It's massive, and as you probably see, there's figs forming. Get a little zoom in. In the UK, figs they're a bit sketchy. They don't always give you a crop. But this is a type of fig that makes 2 crops a year. There's a breba or breba, B-R-E-B-A, fig, which starts forming in autumn, and then it ripens the following summer, and then they throw out another kind of set of figs during the summer. Now the summer figs don't ripen here, but the breba figs, that's them. I can't even speak now. That's them there. They're just starting to get fat. They were pea-sized about a week ago, so they're chunking up nicely. So I'm hoping I get a fig crop this year. The first year I had this plot, I had a phenomenal fig crop. Every 2 or 3 days I was picking about 30 figs, so I was overrun with figs. So obviously can't get to the ones at the top. I'm going to have to figure out how to cut that top of it because it's starting to block out the shade a wee bit, especially when it's in full leaf. But it's big and it's a very pretty tree. Okay, I've got a few strawberries hiding in there. This used to be my strawberry patch next to the raspberries, so they've kind of spread it amongst the raspberries, and I've just decided to leave them there in case they give me a few extra strawberries, and if not, they might provide something for the wildlife. My strawberry patch is now it's kind of in a transitional phase with some flowers there which I like, and I can't really dig up because they're the only flowers I have on the plot at the moment, so I want to put more in and then maybe move these guys. So I've got my garlic dotted through at the moment on this bed. I've got about 25 garlic, which should probably keep me going for the year, I think. If not, I can always size up next year. And they're growing quite nicely. So once they come out, I will probably clear this bed and maybe move these flowers when they've stopped blooming and put them somewhere else. So I've got a proper bed there. These are my peas, which they've started coming up down this end. I had a mouse pretty much take every last pea out of this side of the bed, so I've started more peas at home. But yeah, that's going to be my pea bed once it gets going. And here we have got my carrots in here, and I've put this frame up just to keep the carrot fly off them, but I'm going to use what do you call them, nematodes. I want to put down some nematodes into the soil to kill carrot fly, because it's a huge site. There's loads of carrot fly, and I like carrots, so I want to have some. So there's carrots up this end, and then at the very end I've got a few parsnip thrown down as well, just a small section. So they're quite closely packed. A bit of square foot gardening going on here, so hopefully I'll get some carrots this year. And this is where I've got some broad beans started. They're starting to come up. I'm not a big fan of broad beans, but I thought I'd grow some anyway. Maybe I'll get to like them. So I've got a few plants. They're a bit too close together, but I figured the mice might get them. So I planted too many, and I can always pull up some if they get too crowded. And I've got some turnip and swede, just a few swede, but mostly turnip on this side of the bed, and I've got beetroot on the other side of the bed, so they're quite closely sown as well. So again, using square foot gardening methods. Hopefully I'll be able to pick baby beet, and then, you know, if you take out every second beetroot and every second turnip, you get nice small golf ball sized veg, and then you leave the other ones to get bigger. That's my asparagus bed. I've mulched this as well. I need to harvest this because there's a few, I don't know if you can see that, there's a few asparagus coming up. One over there as well. This was here when I got the plot, and it's never really given me a lot of asparagus because most of them are really weedy and small. So I need to maybe get my hand on some decent manure and chuck that on top, and hopefully that'll give me something more decent to take home. So yeah, that's my asparagus bed, and that's where Asparagus the fox likes to nap, and he also likes to nibble the tops off the asparagus. Little fecker. Those are some onions I planted. I sowed them back in autumn. They're overwintering Japanese onions, and they are looking very patchy. So I sowed some more spring onions. These don't keep very well. They you have to use them fresh because they don't store very well. So I'll probably use these to make some kind of pickle or relish, or maybe some caramelized onion relish. That's my plan anyway. I've got red onions up that end, and I've got some normal Japanese onions at this end. So yeah, very patchy. It rained for 3 months over the winter, so everything in the ground kind of went tits up. This is my potato bed, one of them. I've grown quite a lot of potatoes this year because I love having lots of potatoes. It's a really nice crop. They store really well, and it means I have plenty of potatoes to keep me going till spring next year. Now these are my, I suppose they're secondary potatoes. They're called Red Duke of York. So you can actually pick these very small as new potatoes, or you can leave them until they're secondaries just for an extra month or so, and then they keep a lot better. Or you can just leave them in the ground until you're ready to eat them, because they actually will get quite big if you just leave them alone, and they store very well. I'm really happy with them as a type of spud, and they're quite a lot of dry matter. They're very kind of well, they're like a salad potato if you pick them early, but if you leave them to get bigger, they get more floury, and I like a floury spud because they make a good roasty. So those are coming up. Some of them are coming up quicker than others, if you can see, and I've been earthing them up. They're actually buried probably 1.5 foot down from where you can see the tips, because what I tend to do is I tend to dig a trench as deep as I can go, and then I make a hole, an extra hole a bit further down, and I put the potato in that, and then I fill in the trench as it goes, rather than what other people do. They seem to put the potatoes underneath the mound rather than at the bottom of the trench. I'm not actually explaining this very well, but that's how I do it. So once it's level, then I know they're actually pretty well earthed up. Then I can take extra soil from in between and earth them up even more. So those are I think there's about 5 to each row, and there's 5 rows, so there's 25 plants roughly in there. Those will give me plenty of potatoes, because each plant will probably give me about 10 to 15 spuds, roughly. Maybe more, maybe less, give or take. Those are the onions I put in the spring. Those are good storing onions. I can't remember the name of them now. It was probably Store On or something like that, but they're good storing onions. There's some red onions at one end and there's some white onions at this end, and there's probably, I don't know, they're spaced way too close together. That's what the textbooks say not to do. But I have been feeding this bed very heavily over the last year, so there's a lot of nutrients in the soil. And I'm hoping they'll just grow close together and get on with it and fatten up nicely. They're looking very healthy. They're looking very strong. I've only put them in a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, the foliage should block some of the light as well, so I don't get as much weeds in this bed. So it should be a bit easier to weed. That's my chives. That's my lemon balm, which is a type of mint. And that's just starting to get going. That gets nice and big. It gets up to about this height. See my trendy wellies. So yeah, that's my lemon balm. And I've got artichoke over here with some kind of geranium type flower that spreads like a weed, and I'm slowly getting rid of that flower. But the bees like it, so I might leave that one. So artichoke, big one. And I took some cuttings and I put a few more artichoke over there, which I've mulched around. I don't know if you can see. Because those spread by the roots, you just split the roots and you get another artichoke plant. So I've got 3 close together there, just on the off chance that one of them will die, but it looks like all 3 are going to make it, so probably now too close together, but fuck it. These are my blackberries. These were here when I took on the plot as well. I almost got rid of them until I realised that they hadn't actually grown very tall and they were already fruiting, so these are some kind of compact type of blackberry, and they are thornless, if you can see. They're mostly thornless, although there's a wild bramble somewhere stuck in with the roots, which does grow like a lunatic, and I have to keep that one cut back. But I've kept these, and they give me a nice wee crop of blackberries, even though it's a small little area. This is my sage bush. It's a nice big, decent sized one. It's looking a little bit peaky. I might need to feed that. I've already fed it twice this spring, but it's still looking a little bit peaky. It doesn't get a lot of water because that's my apple tree there. That's a plum. I think it's a plum. It could be a damson. They're quite small plums. Plum tree that it's right on the border with the neighbouring plot, so it's kind of sort of both of us get to enjoy the fruit of that tree. Most of the tree is actually leaning on my plot, and it blocks out a lot of the rain and a lot of the shade. It gives me a lot of shade, so it's a bit of pain in the bum, but and as you can see, it wasn't pruned, so the nearest branch is way too tall off the ground, so it's quite difficult to get the fruit, and quite often I'm picking up windfalls. But yeah, apple tree is great. I pruned that over the winter back in January, and that's looking a lot neater than last year. But what I'm doing is I'm pruning some of the branches this year, pruning another third next year, and another third the following year, so it's kind of going to slowly take shape. But again, that's way too tall an apple tree for me to prune properly, so the top of it's always going to be a bit mental and wild. Rhubarb. I've got 3 rhubarb plants now. I have one main one down the bottom next to next to the onions in the water trough. So I put in another one, so I hope that one does well. And I've got another one over there somewhere. I'll pass that in a minute. New potatoes. I've got a paving area here, so I'm growing in bags. And these are there's a combination of different first early potatoes. So these will be ready in, I put them in at the beginning of March, so they should be ready at the beginning of June, which isn't that long away. And they're growing very quickly. I need to earth them up a bit more. And they're just growing in bags. I've got some nice compost in there, so it's good nutrient-rich soil. And there's a variety of them, so they'll actually be slightly different harvesting times for them. Some of them are called swift, so they get going very quickly. It's probably those over there. And some of them are actually potatoes I saved from last year's crop. And they say not to keep potatoes and grow them the following year, but because it's meant to spread disease. But these potatoes weren't diseased last year, and that's why I'm growing them in bags, so I've got them separate, so they should be okay. So those will be the first potatoes of the year. Then I'll be picking those further potatoes, and then I will I'm going to plant my main crop potatoes in this bed, which I need to dig out, but I've let it go wild and woolly, because if you can see, I've still got kale in there, and the kale is still producing. I picked another crop of it yesterday, a nice big pile of kale, and I think I'll get another crop out of this yet, because there's still some small leaves forming. I don't know if you can see that. So maybe in 2 weeks or in a week and a half, I'll be picking these little babies, which will be this big, and then I'll probably take them out, because I want to get my potatoes in that bed. Although I do hate getting rid of a plant that's still giving me food, but you know, time marches on. I need to get my main crop in the ground, and that'll be a full crop of main crop. They'll be in the ground till September. So obviously in June I'll be taking those potatoes out, and I'll be using the bed for something else, because these boys will just stay there for the season. Okay, so that's my apple tree. And I've got this was on the plot when I arrived, so I don't know what it is. I think it's a bat box, actually. I'm not sure. It doesn't look like a bird box, because the opening's a bit big, and there is bats on the plot. So, but that's been there. There's nothing living in it. Nothing living in it yet, anyway. My compost heap. I've got 2 sections of my compost. Well, 3, 4 actually, if you count the fox den that I built at the back. Just behind that board, there's a little area for the fox to have a nap if he wants to hang out in my plot a bit longer. So I've got some compost that I can use, and then that side has got more green stuff, and this stuff is kind of more weed roots and stuff that doesn't compost down very well, so I'm leaving that longer, and I might end up burning it, because it will probably start growing if I end up spreading it. Some kind of lily that I don't know. It's been there since I arrived, and I think it got in by accident, but it has a very strange white spiky flower, and I just decided to leave it. Okay, here I'm going to put, because it's really shady, and nothing really grows, what I'm going to do with this section is turn it into a little wildlife spot. So as you can see, there's a pile of twigs and stuff that I've been pruning over the winter, and underneath that there's a hogatat. I don't know if you can see the opening there. There's a little hedgehog house, because I do have hedgehogs on my plot, but they actually live under my shed. So I'm going to make that hogatat a little bit more secure and use some of these logs. I've got loads of logs. I'm going to use that to kind of build up a little fortress around it, so that nothing can get into the hogatat. 'Cause I think the way it's designed, it's too easy for a cat or a fox or something to stick its nose in. So I think that's probably why there's no hedgehogs living in there. But I'm going to sort that out. So I'm going to get more of that wood chip, and I'm going to put it down around here to kind of keep some of the weeds down, because there's dock leaves and there's bindweed and there's ivy growing around the ground. So I'm going to suppress it a wee bit with wood chip, and that will entice more wood lice around here, which hedgehogs like to eat. And I'm probably going to build a little seating area just there where the metal bin is and the watering can is. So I've got all the wood stuff and everything I need to make a little seating area, and somewhere to put my little camp stove, so I can sit here and make tea. So yeah, that's the back of my compost heap, and there's some rubber tubing that I'm going to use to build something, but I don't know what yet. I've got half an idea, but you'll probably see what that's being used for later in this season. Okay, that's my shed, and that's my crap area where shit gets thrown. This is where I watch the sunset. The sun goes down right over there. I don't know if you can see. I think it's already gone down, to be honest, but there's a big cloud in the way, but it's very pretty when it goes down. And I just sit here with my cup of tea and chat to the fox, and feels like everything's right with the world. All those trees over there are Queenswood. Now, Queenswood is in the Doomsday Book. It's been there for a long time. It's one of the few ancient woodlands left in Britain. It's actually Queenswood, and then there's Highgate Wood just beyond it, and they've got really lovely old big trees, and it's very well maintained as well, because they get grants and all that to keep it going and keep it coppiced and and so on. But it's an absolute, excuse my voice is going, it's an absolute wildlife haven, so that we get a lot of foxes here, we get a lot of squirrels, hedgehogs, there's muntjac deer, but I haven't seen them yet, but they are around here somewhere. And yeah, we've got slow worm as well, which are a protected species in the UK. There's not very many of those left either. But yeah, it's a really pretty area, and sometimes when you hear it dawn or when the sun goes down, you don't feel like you're at the edge of London at all, because you know, we're kind of up on a hill and all you hear is birds and more birds, all going mental. And they do sing their heads off at dawn. It's just stunning to be up here. So yeah, that's in my shed. This is where the hedgehogs live, under there. Or they kind of come and go. I think they've got a few places they live. And that's my hedgehog diner. It's a little box with a hallway so that nothing can get its nose in. And I've just filled that up because I seem to have quite a lot of hedgehogs coming, because they eat all the food I put out in one night, which they used to eat it over the course of 3 or 4 days, but now it's gone in a day. And I know it's hedgehogs because there's no I don't get any rat droppings or mouse droppings in there, only hedgehog droppings. Thank God for the internet. You can now look up what hedgehog droppings look like. It's an education, so I can spot a hedgehog dropping from a mile off. It's quite distinct, slightly curly. But yeah, I've got that's where I put my other rhubarb plant. It's a bit tattered looking, but that will get going. I won't crop that this year because it's new in the ground, but maybe by next year I'll be able to pick some. But I have an established rhubarb patch. It's pretty big crowns. So yeah, this is just so I can be greedy next year and have more rhubarb jam. And next to that is my strawberry patch, which is expanding because I put in 80 strawberry plants last year. Some of them are ever bearing, some of them are early, and some of them are late season. And I didn't really look after them in the autumn. I just ignored them, and they sent out a lot of runners. So now they've spread over there, and they'd spread out to where my perpetual spinach is now, and all around that outside section. So I took them out, and I've started moving them in here. So yeah, I've got maybe 100 strawberry plants, which is nice, because the strawberry plants that were down the bottom of the plot, they were just looking like they hadn't been tended to. So I just thought I'd start a new bed from scratch, and I love strawberries, so it's nice to have fresh ones because they cost an arm and a leg in the shops, and it's nice to have them for free. This is a plum tree I put in. It's actually a gauge, Cambridge gauge. It's an old variety of, I suppose you describe it like a green plum, but they have more of a honey taste. This is something called, I wonder what they're called, the fish. I call them spit bugs. They leave a big pile of spit, and to protect their eggs. I'll get rid of that later. But yeah, I planted this last year, so I need to start pruning it to make more branches, maybe take the top off, and then train it espalier shaped so it's so I can keep it short and easy to harvest. But there's a plum forming there, very small one, or a gauge I should call it. And actually the rootstock started growing, and the only reason why I left it there, because it's a grafted tree, the only reason why I left the rootstock on it, because I want the roots to get good and strong and really anchor it properly. So I'm actually going to trim those off. That rootstock sucker, I'm going to trim that off next year, but at the moment it's sending energy down to the roots, and more strong roots is only a good thing. So, because it was quite a weak looking tree when I got it. So that's my comfrey plant. I'm hoping that will spread and give me lots more. Actually, it is spreading already. It's got three plants there. There used to be just one, so comfrey is amazing stuff. I'm going to rot that down in a bucket and use it as plant food. So this section is going to eventually be just comfrey, but at the moment it's just that one little thing there, which is just starting to get growing. And I've got a rose bush there. So this section I'm going to put in a few flowers like marigolds and calendula and chamomile around the outside there, just to get the bees over here to this section, even though they're here anyway, because I've got apple tree over here. But yeah, I want it to be bee friendly. It's my perpetual spinach. And this tall thing here is going to be for my peas, because I'm growing a type of pea here which is supposed to grow to between 8 and 10 feet. So that's not tall enough, but I'm skeptical. I don't believe it's going to grow to 8 to 10 feet. But we'll see. It'll just kind of spray out at the top if it does keep growing. But it's a long-bearing pea, and it should give me peas all season. A little bit late going in the ground. Probably should have sown them about 2 weeks ago, but they're in there, so hopefully they'll give me a crop. And I've got my bean, what do you call them? Bean canes. Beans are great to grow because I do like it because they use up the space really well. So I've got 2 rows of little teepee thingies, which are pretty sturdy. You can see that's there's a little bit of give in them, but I think it's better that they have give because then they'll just go with the wind, and they're anchored quite deep. What I did there, you can see some weeds peeping through. They're not actually peeping through. I dug a big trench and filled it up with grass clippings. That's why my grass is a mess, because I actually clip it section by section, and it was all going into the trenches. So under there is going to be, it's grass that's all going to rot down. There's some potato peelings, any kind of green waste that came off my plot or came out of my kitchen is all gone under the ground there. And there's some wood chip as well. It's fairly twiggy, light wood chip, so it's not too dense. So that's going to absorb all the water, because beans are greedy for water. And last summer we had quite a heat wave here, and I just couldn't water the beans enough, and I got a crap crop out of them. It was really not very good. So this year, that's my solution. I'm gonna that'll hold in the water, and it'll feed them as well while it rots down. So that's what's going on underground there, and I'm going to keep doing that the whole length of the bed, and just keep burying more green matter under the ground, because I'm going to put some squash in this bed, and they like that. And I'm going to put some bush beans as well, because I like bush beans. They produce very quickly, and they'll be producing before the beans are. I haven't sown them yet. I've sown them at home, but I haven't planted them in the ground. So once they're big enough, I'll transplant them, and they'll have a head start. Don't know what's going in this bed yet. Probably, and there's chives, more chives there. Probably tomatoes. I went mental last year and grew 30 plants of tomatoes, and then they all got hit with blight, so I ended up with just a pile of green tomatoes, and I think I only had two red ones, so that was a bit disappointing. So I'm going to cut back on the tomato plants this year and be a bit more realistic that they're probably not going to ripen before I get a crop, but I'll just do a few plants. And I want to do sweet corn as well, so they might go on the end of that bed, or they might go in where the potatoes are once the potatoes come out in June. That's around the time I'll be planting out my sweet corn. So yeah, so I've still got squash to go in, I've still got kale to go in, I've still got I'm going to replace that kale. I want to put in a few cabbages, broccoli, and some oriental veg, and some of those things will go in the ground in June when the onions come out and when the potatoes come out, so I'll have more space then. As it stands, I don't have enough space, so I'm probably going to end up getting rid of a couple of these paths just to squeeze the odd plant in here and there and just fit a few things in, because it's a small plot and it's just not big enough for me. It's really kind of feeling cramped at the moment, even though it's not even growing yet. I can just see plans of where everything's going to be, and it's already feeling crowded in my head. But yeah, that's my plot. Small, compact, but nice. It's very lovely here. It's really lovely in the evening. So next time I take a video, hopefully it'll all be looking much more lush and green, and my potato plants will be huge, and it won't be all dirty, bare soil. It'll all be green and lush and weed free. Oh, and here's a fox. Which fox is that? I don't know if you can see him coming up the path. That is asparagus. Yeah, he's just gone off to look in that plot. Yeah, I've got a fox that as you know, I've got the fox that I'm treating at the moment. I've got antibiotics for him, and he's had his mange treatment. He's had 3 weeks of mange treatment, so hopefully that will start kicking in and he'll start looking better. But he's had extra wounds since I did the last video. He's had A bite mark to his bum, and there's puncture wounds back there as well. I'm afraid of the puncture wound, but the bite wound looks quite clean, I think. But yeah, he's doing pretty okay considering. But that's the dominant fox who just went by. He's called Asparagus, and he sleeps on my asparagus bed, and he likes to hang out quite a lot. Most days he just hangs out here while I'm working or while I'm digging, and unfortunately I have to, when Sage, who's the injured fox, when he's getting his medicine, I have to go and distract Gus with sausages and stuff and try and keep him away from Sage, because he will chase Sage off the food and off the plot completely. So that's been eventful. But he's actually quite a lovely fox. He likes hanging out. Hi, Gus. You can see if he's coming up the hill. He naps a lot on the plot. He likes to nap over there underneath the... since I put wood chip down, that's one of his new favourite places to sit and chill and nap. And he always comes just at sunset to have a wee chat. And I don't know if he's a fox of... a routine kind of fox, but he seems to be. He's just licking his dish out, because I had to give him some cat food today to keep him away from Sage. But yeah, he's very chilled out little fella. It's actually a beautiful fox. Very healthy looking. The complete opposite of Sage. Like, he's just like completely alpha. And yeah, he's good. Hello. Hi, baby. You good? I've got a bit of sausage in my pocket. I can throw it to you. So, oh no, I don't have a bit of sausage in my pocket. I put it away. Do you want a bit of sausage? Do you want to get you a bit of sausage? Is that a yes, please? Oh, hello. Hi, handsome fella. Who's looking good? Yeah, you're looking good. Do you want to get you sausage? You going for a nap? Yeah. Is he going to go in and lie in the place that I just said he likes to lie in? Good boy. You're demonstrating what you do. I'm going to go get him a sausage because he's nice. And I have got a sausage, and it's got his name on it. I'll get him one. It's he looks like his legs are buried in the ground. You just tuck them in underneath him. He just disappeared. Aren't they? Keeping your paws warm. You getting sleepy? You have a wee nap? Mr. Handsome Fox. Nappy nap. Sleepy boy. He's just holding his chin up off the ground. He's like, I don't quite want to fall asleep, but I really do. I really do want to fall asleep, but I shouldn't. I'm just tired. Cute boy. Alright. Well, you're not getting into my hedgehog house. I know you can smell food in there, but you've eaten. No, be nice to the hedgehogs. No, you can't have the hedgehog food. That's not you. It's not for you. You're not a hedgehog, Gus.